we are going live. Yep, we are live. Hey everyone, I'm Agarkar and welcome to my brand new channel, AgarkarMedia Games. And in this channel, we are going to play a lot many games and we are going to review a lot many games. And this is the first live stream that I'm going to do on this channel. This is a game, The First Tree. As you can already see, it is available on Steam and on all the major platforms. The reason I wanted to play this game and I wanted to start the game with this exact game is that I follow the channel gamedev unlocked. So I follow the channel and I love the guy, I love the hustle he's doing, and I love the success story that he's having. And that is the reason I wanted to play this game and I wanted to see how this game has been made. I know that this game has been made by an indie developer in Unity software. I just want to just have a look at it and just play the game and just have fun with it, right? So before we start the gameplay, let me just start just share this video with a few of my friends so that some of you can come live to this YouTube channel and come live to this video. Just give me a minute. And we are good to go, I think, right? Yep, we are good to go. Cool. So what we are going to do is I'm just going to enter and press enter to start. So let's start the game if it works. Yeah. Now the first thing that I want to do is to configure the controller if I can. So let's see if it says that the controller is there, but I'm not sure if the controller is there. Commentary mode, maybe let's turn it on. Subtitles, yeah, let's keep it on. I like subtitles. There are no much other invert axis, no, not at all. I think there are no other there's no way of controlling or using the controller for that. So yeah, please attach a controller and press button. Okay, so it works with the controller. For just a second I thought that no, controller might just not work, but now I know that it works. Yeah, good. So let's look at the controls. Yeah, so from the mouse, from the pad, I can go up and down. And yeah, let's start with a new game. So this is the first time I'm going to play the game. Let's start with the game. New game. Cool. And the way we are going to play this game is there will be less of talking and more of playing. So I'm going to focus more on the game itself than me just speaking random stuff. So let's see if we can go far and how far we can go.
Hi, my name is David Whaley and I'm the creator of The First Tree. I also voice a character named Joseph.
Created the game.
So I just wanted to introduce you to this commentary mode, tell you that you can find interesting things about how I made this game by touching the speech bubbles you see in the world. So I hope you enjoy it.
So you can follow the channel gamedev unlocked. So that's the channel where this guy creates a lot many videos.
I thought I heard you get up.
Yeah, so I'm using the Xbox controller for this game.
Sorry, I just can't sleep.
And from watching his videos, I know that the female's voice is his wife's voice and the male's voice is his own voice. So that's really fun.
No, it's okay. What else is on your mind?
I don't know. It seems weird, but I had one of the most vivid dreams of my life. I saw a fox on a snowy mountain, just looking confused and worried. Wow, that's
really looking nice.
Those eyes. I can't get those eyes out of my head. She was running in the windy snow, looking for something.
Do you think it has to do with you and what's been going on?
I don't know. It was just a dream, Rachel. They're not meant to make sense. A lot's
Yeah, so
happened the past
the way
couple
I see
days,
this is,
that's all.
Well, if you're not going to sleep anyway, you should tell me. I want to hear.
the notes are really
Alright.
nice. Yeah, so the movement part, if you are a game developer yourself, you might just see that this is, I mean, there's no root motion going on. It is just, you know, some random stuff going on, and it's good, but let's continue. So with X I can toggle between walking and running. With B nothing seems to happen. With Y nothing seems to happen. Triggers are having no use as of now. Okay, and yeah, A gives, you know, jump. So there's something right there. Let's see what that is. Why I made this game. Okay,
So it's usually at this point where people say something like, this is not the kind of game I was expecting. And that happened a lot at PAX West when I showed it. We'd have little kids play it, but then they see a dead fox cub, or a kit is technically the word, but cub sounds, I don't know, it sounds better. Like Wes Anderson uses it in Fantastic Mr. Fox, so I thought cub would be alright. But anyway, having this game, I wanted it to be more serious. This game is based on dealing with the death of my father, which was the hardest thing that's ever happened to me and my family. But I don't want to talk about it here, and I didn't want to talk about it with anybody really to this day still. It's very personal. And that's why I made this game. That's exactly the reason. Because I wanted to get those feelings out and like communicate with people without like talking about it. And so that's what the first tree is. It's me dealing with my feelings, and it was a personal project, and it was just me, and it actually, like, I'm really glad I made it, but it wasn't easy to make, I guess is what I'm saying.
So, not far from her home, she followed that path to something unexpected.
so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to share this on Discord, and let's see if someone just wants to, you know, catch up. So till then, what we can do is, I don't know what we can do. Let's just wait for like a second or so that I can just, you know, share this up with a few of my friends. Maybe some of them just wants to join in. Or maybe I can share it with a few more people. I know that this is just, you know, going to be a little bit of wait for you guys, and by the videos that I've seen, I know that this is, you know, something like this is like a 3 hours of gameplay. I know this by watching the videos. Yeah, well, let's see if someone can just join in, and we're just going to continue to play the game. Okay, cool. We saw you know, a dead fox, right? Let's just continue running.
She couldn't stay though. She had to find her other 2 children. So she took that path. She followed it towards something ancient. Something with answers.
Wow. So we are going to just the first tree, that's the intro. Cool.
fox looked high and low, searching for any sign of her cubs. Points of light showed the way to this ancient tree. It was as if each one had a story to tell, all their own. The land was trying to tell my story, too. I felt like I was right behind her the whole time.
The complete area has been made in a way that it just leads to one thing leads to another thing, so that's really nice. I mean, it's not an open world of any kind. There is just the way it has been made is just one will lead to other thing, right? I don't know if he came from there itself, so maybe I don't have to go there. Let's just continue with this one, because I just want to hear what's written here.
The bunnies were added because my wife, Elise, who also voices Rachel in the game, who's also helped a ton to make the game, as we were playing, she just said the world felt kind of empty and not alive enough. So I knew we needed to add some kind of life, and so the bunnies was like the first idea that came to mind. And like most of the game, I use like publicly available assets to speed up production because I was working full-time along with making this game, and we just had our first baby, a little girl named Evelyn. So I was messing with this asset called Herd Sim, and at one point, like the generation script that creates variations of the sizes of the bunny. One time I got out of control and it made like this monster bunny that towered over everybody. And I shared that GIF on Imager and Reddit, and that was a huge hit. It helped definitely gain an audience for this game. But it's hard because this game is like so serious. It's about life and death, not giant bunnies. But I knew I needed something, like a shout out to that, because it was pretty fun. So if you're able to catch all the bunnies on this map, I think there's around 13, then you'll get a special surprise. So good luck.
As a kid, did you ever do show and tell in your class?
Yeah, I think I only did it once, when I was in the 4th grade. You know how my life was around then. I wanted to show my class what helped pass the time and distracted me, so I brought a dozen paper cranes I had made. I think I told everyone how badly I wanted to be a bird and fly, embarrassingly enough.
Don't be embarrassed. Every kid wants to fly. For me, it was another toy from my dad, a wooden boat. I remember guarding it so carefully in my hands as I walked into class. When I sat down, a group of boys immediately made fun of it. They asked which trash can I found it in, or why an ugly log was my favorite toy. When I got up, I didn't even want to tell them my dad had carved it. I said it was a joke gift my friend had given me.
Kids can be so cruel.
Some of them are. I shouldn't have let them get to me, but it did. It's amazing we bounced back at all.
I feel like one of the best ways to make an exploration game feel worth it, or to reward the player, is to have as many secrets as possible. Like some of my favorite games like Dear Esther and Gone Home and Firewatch. I love those story-driven games. And they're kind of like these mystery boxes where if you put in a lot of effort, if you look closely, the world reveals itself to you better. So there are like secrets in the first tree. See if you can find one of these hidden items by digging around in these unmarked spots around this area.
So as far as I know, I'm not going to worry too much about that. I'm just following the leads. I just want to complete the game as such and not worry too much about the hidden stuff. I just want to play the story. I always loved playing stories. Side missions and extra things is not really my kind of thing. I don't like that. I don't usually go for all the details and stuff like that. I just like to play the game as it comes, because that's what makes the game really, really great, right? I mean, the story is what I'm more interested in than getting that 100% completion mark. The story, man, the story. If the story is good, I don't care if I complete the 100% of the game. So I've already played games like Vice City, GTA Vice City, San Andreas, GTA 4, GTA 5. I've played the games. I love the story. I never even ever cared about side missions and stuff like that. I just want to complete the game as quickly as possible, and that's all I want to go do in this game as well. The story is more important than the secret stuff. Maybe I'm still exploring things because they are being shown to me, right? That's why I'm exploring things.
Do you remember what my dad did for a living?
Wasn't he like a lumberjack?
That's one way of putting it. If wood was a canvas, then a carving knife was his paintbrush. Even after working a 50-hour week, even after his hands were more splinters than skin, he would bring home the nicest piece of Alaskan weeping cedar and make me toys. That wooden train was the first toy I can remember, and I loved it. I just knew from a young age I was going to be a lumberjack, like my father.
Wow, the environments are really nicely made. So from the game itself, I mean, from all the videos that I've seen, I know that the game got traction because of its visuals. Everyone loved the visuals, and that's why everyone wanted to play the game. Right? I mean, if you have visuals like this on a indie game, everyone would want to play the game. If you look at just the physics part of it, I mean, yeah, look at this, look at the motion. This motion is far from realistic, right? Very comical movement, right? It's not, they has not even used any root motion, but still the visuals are so great that it just looks nice. These are kind of like objectives, just
Usually
digging
those
around.
kids would leave me alone, but somehow they could tell I was different. They made fun of how far away I lived. They called my dad sourdough. I was a blabbermouth as a kid, telling my dad stories I made up for hours. But after that show and tell, I didn't tell him much anymore. He didn't know exactly what was wrong, but his best guess was that the toys he carved weren't cool enough. He carved me a tank and tried to tell me what it was like to be in a real tank as a serviceman.
Oh,
I didn't know your dad was in the
he
military.
referenced the tank
Yeah, in the
from
army.
his, father's
Sad thing is
story.
that I pretty much forgot
Okay.
until just now. There's so much I still don't know about him.
I'm sorry. He knows
What's
how
the
much you
way to
love him.
go?
You're going to see him again soon and have some closure, I'm sure.
He referenced his
A lot of
father.
people have gotten confused why Joseph's father is called a sourdough, and it's not stated outright at the beginning of the game, but Joseph and his dad, they grew up in Alaska, and I don't have a real connection to Alaska except through friends who lived there, and it was also the place that me and my dad were gonna go right before he passed away. But I love the idea of Alaska being like this beautiful solitary place. But anyway, what that has to do with sourdough is it's an Alaskan slang term
Okay, so we are in the
about
wrong.
like someone who lives in the backwoods, like a
Like-
redneck in Alaska. So I thought that was just to put some authenticity into the game. I added that word.
So we don't take any fall damage as such. And by the looks of it, I can see that we can go up, except for I'll have to figure it out how. Yeah, that's like jump as much as you can. I don't know how to reach there. Dude, some things are not really very well understood to me why they are there. Just that the music is really nice and you would like to keep playing, and the ambience is nice. I can hear that a rainy kind of an ambience. I just like the way it sounds. This has to be a reference to one more thing. What is this? Some playground kind of thing, right? It has to be a reference to something or the other. I mean, that is all this game is all about, right? References to one or the other thing. But without any maps, without yeah, it is an exploration game. That's what he calls it, right? So maybe right. You just need to
I feel
explore
like
things.
one of the main reasons people play small indie games is because they are so personal and intimate. So I tried to put myself into this game as much as possible. So almost all the vignettes or little stories you hear in this game, they come from my childhood, where I grew up in the middle of nowhere in Central Virginia in the United States. So yeah, that's probably why I love games like this so much, where you explore this open, wide environment and just find interesting things, because that's exactly what I did as a kid.
Yeah, so we can see that he has built up all these things from his experiences, combined his experiences and some personal story, personal touches to it, and just has got all these. And yeah, it is without a map, so it is like an exploration, he calls it, right? An exploration game. So you can understand why there is no map.
The more I withdrew. I asked myself, why talk to anybody anyway? Why bother when I'm happy by myself? I started drawing a lot, mostly animals I saw in the woods by my home. I then imagined designing my own hideouts with things like TVs and pantries full of chips and cookies. I think that idea of leaving home and drawing blueprints started my career. I found a lot of solace in that.
I'm not surprised, but I did the same thing, There's something special about having a place to call your own.
And now look at us. Well, if you count renting in an overpriced city.
It's as close as we can get for now.
I thought it was important to say that, yes, I actually did draw this with crayons. And it was just funny to me one day that I was like, I'm working on my game, and I pulled out my little 1-year-old's crayon set to draw this item for this game. I just realized just now that I probably threw away the original. I probably should have kept it and given it away to somebody, but oh well.
Well, this guy is really very matured, right? There is really no way to understand which direction we are going. Are we even going in the right direction? There is no real way to understand that. We're just going the way it comes to us. Are we round back to where we started? I don't know. Maybe I want to just walk. I don't know. It is an exploration game, and that's what makes this really fun. It's an exploration game. Yeah, I'm pretty damn sure this is the right way to go. That's the start of second environment, and this is the environment I like the most when I saw the videos and photos on that. Really the best of what you can really get. It is really very nice looking. I mean, look at the colors. Right? What did he draw on crayons? I'm not sure. quite. I just want to run and get to things as quickly as possible. But look at the foliage. Foliage is what it is called. Look at the grass foliage. It looks really nice.
My teenage years were full of sketching, angst, and trouble. I wasn't popular or unpopular. Maybe just forgettable. I guess that gave me a sense of freedom. So I hung out with crazy kids, doing crazy things, even though I mostly just watched the chaos ensue. We did it all. Put fireworks in mailboxes, hide roadkill in people's garages, break windows of the barber shop in Anchorage. My dad was furious, but he was so busy working he couldn't do much to stop me from going out.
I think being an adult means there's no one to stop you making hard decisions. He had to make a living, and he couldn't be in two places at once.
Yeah, I realize that now. But at the time, I was sure he was more interested in growing his business than what was going on with me.
This is the level that I showed at PAX West, which was a crazy dream come true that this hobby project was being shown next to all these amazing indie games. So I decided to show this level because it's smaller, there's like some jumping puzzles, and I thought it was a good entry into the game. But the one thing I can't seem to forget is right before we opened to the public, there was an indie dev superstar. Like, you've definitely heard of his games, and I was like terrified. He wanted to try it out. So I said, of course, like, please give me your feedback. And he was super nice, super talented, of course. But this embarrassing bug happened, which I'd never seen before in my life, where when he dug the item up, he jumped right after, and it created the dust cloud to permanently be on the rest of the level. It wouldn't turn off. So it looked like this fart cloud following the fox as it just kept running with this beautiful music and serious voiceover. And it was horrible. I think about that every time I look at this level. But, I was able to fix it, so I'm glad someone could at least find that bug. I always wanted this game to be very meditative and relaxing, but I know there's a balance between keeping the player's interest. So I added this butterfly jumping mechanic just to spice things up. I used a plugin called Playmaker for Unity, which in a visual editor lets you do interactive things, which is perfect for me because I do come from a film and design background. But on the flip side, I really wish I was good at code, because this jumping mechanic, the jumping mechanic in the whole game actually has frustrated a lot of players. But hopefully I've been able to fine tune it, so it should feel a lot better now. I would just hate that this meditative game would get frustrating, so I've definitely I've lowered the gravity, I've made the jumps more consistent, so hopefully people can just focus on the world and the story.
He was working another late night, and my friends were over, saying how bored they were and how they had come all the way out to my house for nothing. One of them mentioned how that old, ugly beyond belief truck was still in the garage, and how we should take it for a spin. I was only 15, so I kind of fought it for a while. The next thing I knew, we were careening around the mountain path, rocks spitting onto the sides of the cliff, while my dad's cringeworthy bluegrass blared out the speakers. I drove while my friends were in the back of that yellow and purple truck, throwing beer bottles and trash at anything remotely interesting. I felt like I was soaring in the air with borrowed wings. But all good things have endings. A cop outside of Eagle River pulled us over after he saw us in a bottle rocket into someone's yard. What followed was a long night of talking to disappointed adults and feeling smaller than ever.
Yeah, the whole point of this story is, some really well made experiences of life. That's all I can, really see from all the whatever time we have played this game, is that it's a story. It's less of a game and it's more of a story. We are just, into a story of this guy who made this game, and you're just going to understand what he has been through and just try to get a glimpse of all his feelings. Look at this. This is looking so nice. You just would want to stand here for like ever. The colors is all what it really makes this game really fun to play, or like more than fun to play, I would say worth watching is, or worth playing, or worth exploring is what I would say. The games is really well. There's no fall damage. I mean, I do understand that if something falls from that height it will just die. But this does not. So yeah, maybe there's something to it, maybe there's nothing to it. Yeah, that's how you get the coin. Yeah, I just want to... Yeah, the game, the distances have been made in such a way that you won't find it very difficult to move ahead. Right, it is perfectly made distances. Right. How to go up? I don't know. I mean, yeah. This is one more, objectives of some sort.
After he drove me home from the police station, I blew up at him, saying how I never wanted to be like him, how I was gonna be someone and leave that hick icebox for good. He just looked forward at the road with tired eyes. I took out that bluegrass tape from the cassette deck and chucked it out the window. In my sage teenage wisdom, I thought I had proved the ultimate point. But my dad had a different idea. He slammed the brakes, slowly bowed his head while gripping the steering wheel, and finally looked at me. All he said, like it was a polite request, was, "Make this right." I sat there in silence, fuming, but I eventually got out and combed every square inch of the woods, muttering profanity after profanity. I found it 30 minutes later, near a small waterfall off the road. I went back to the truck, put the wet tape back in, and sure enough it worked. We didn't speak another word to each other the rest of the night.
Wow, I knew you were a crazy teenager, but...
It's hard to believe, isn't it? It surprises me too. It's like I didn't really know who that kid was back then. I bet my dad thought the same thing over and over. It's almost like he was saying, "Make this right," to himself, more than to me.
You may have noticed there's a little pond here, and believe it or not, I tried everything I could to get swimming working in this game, and I just could not do it, unfortunately. And so all the water in this game you can just stand in, which is, it still like bums me out, but the systems were not working, it was buggy. So I just had to throw it out, which, I think it's okay. Like, I wish it was there, but again, the focus of this game is on the story.
Okay, cool. You said it, we listened to it. I am damn sure that I would require these butterfly things to come with me to jump off to the other side. And from here, you basically need 1, 2, 3 of them. Okay, how to get 3 of them? Where can you find the 3? Okay, that's really nice. So one we have got from the top there. One is here. Okay, so this has been very nicely made. And one is there. Okay, so cool. We got this. This is one more. Right? And this also. Oh, so there was like this little point right around at the bottom, and which I did not see. Okay, cool. That's really nice. I did not see that coin there. Cool, we got the 3.
My friends would laugh about that night and talk about how crazy it was. And I laughed along, pretending it didn't bother me. But it did. I imagined my friends growing old in the bush, unable to find that thrill in those godforsaken ice fields. It's like those mountains were a literal wall, keeping me from leaving, where all I would have to look forward to are lumber yards and evening beers. I had to climb over. That was my only goal for a long time.
I had to climb over. That was the only goal for a long time. That's what this is about. Cool. Wow, that's just really nice looking. So if you want to make a game, just understand that whenever you make a game, you have to make a game in such a way that it's nice to look at, no matter what, if it is a realistic looking game or not, but it should look nice. That has to be the first thing.
If there was some way I could take my love of drawing and turn it into a way of escape, nothing would make me happier. I wanted to create instead of tearing trees down. I wanted to move to the lower 48, not because I hated it there in Alaska, but I hated the idea of it. It's like all of that spite inside me had created this monster which followed me around my whole teenage years. I put so much energy into doing what others didn't expect of me. Why did I do that?
There's one fact you're forgetting, though. If you didn't have that fire in you, we probably would have never met.
You're absolutely right. Maybe the destination is all that matters in the end. But then why am I awake? Why am I seeing this fox go on her journey? And why can't I stop thinking about my dad?
I didn't expect that. A new level? As far as I remember, this is the exact level where the photo of the first tree thing has been taken. And that's nice. This is a nice exploration game, but the only thing that I see is, it's well made, right? There's no doubt that the game has been made really, really nicely. And it has all the things that you need, right? I mean, everything leads to one thing or the other. When you come here, you can see that you can go to there from here, so that's really nice, well made.
Almost all stories follow the same kind of structure, and it starts with an inciting event, and then there's rising action, and then there's a climax, and then there's falling action. And it's actually really difficult to make an interesting story where you only hear these two people talking, and it's spoken through a dream that's already happened. and the most of the action is about this animal that isn't directly related to this couple at all. So I don't know what I was thinking, but my hope was that it would create some interesting things and connections that I didn't see before. And that was kind of the whole exercise of making the first tree.
Nice, really nicely made game. One thing leads to other. Nicely made, things. Nicely made levels. Except for the fact that I would have liked to see like a little bit of more structure to the, things or the trees around here, because it does not look that really great. I mean, it has been looking great for a very long time, and now it still looks great, but except for the fact that what is this? I don't know what to do with this. Yeah, cool. I had no idea what that was all about. But whatever that was, it was great. So the edges is one thing that I would have loved to see it being nice. It's really an exploration game, and it's slow, so it is not probably the 2 or 3 hours or whatever hours that it says. It is going to take longer, a lot longer than you would imagine. Some real fun elements here and there, right?
Even at my most distant, at the times when I detested him the most, he kept reaching out. For a year straight, he asked me every week when we were going camping. I thought he was just dense. Eventually, to shut him up, I agreed. We carried out the worn lawn chairs from the garage and set up a cinder block campfire at the site we'd always used behind the house. We walked down the mountain path, talking in the warm sunshine we only got a couple months of the year.
This has been made really nice, so you can know that there's something there, but you cannot go there from here. You have to take a different route.
I'll never forget that wet stone on my feet, or how those massive mountains looked even bigger in the lake's reflection.
Yeah, right.
I felt small, but grateful. As the sun set, my dad found something I hadn't seen for a long time. The tree where I'd made my first carving when I was 6. I hadn't even carved it. My dad had helped me, but I still called it my tree. Something about seeing my name there made me open up, and we talked about everything that night in that old camouflage tent. I told him how much I loved sketching and design, and how it would be a dream to study architecture in Seattle. I told him how I didn't get along with my friends much anymore, but that I didn't mind being alone. He told me he was there for me, And he joked that if all he had to do was write my name on a tree to finally get me to talk, he would have left me carved logs with novels on them in front of my room every morning. I don't know why it took me that long to realize it, but it was then I knew how much he had sacrificed for me.
I don't think the first tree could work at all without the music by Josh Kramer.
Right.
And
I
his
do
music
that.
is actually publicly available to license, and so it was affordable for me since this was a hobby project. And it's something I like to tell new indie developers all the time, like, you can't afford that composer, you can't afford a full-time programmer. You need to cut corners and finish your game, and the way to do that is to use these amazing publicly available assets that anyone can purchase and license. And so his music it's incredible, and I actually haven't talked to him that much, I've just emailed him. But his music was nominated for Most Emotional Music at the Emotional Game Awards in France, and he's just a really nice guy. And I think there's so much amazing content out there that if you're thinking of making a game, like, look around and see what you can make work on a tight budget, because it worked really well for the first tree.
On our property, there were old abandoned pieces of a shed and car.
So
long
we
left
saw the
unused.
house there, right?
I
He's
used to
talking about
ask
the
him all the
house.
time who those people were that left all this junk. And I'm sure he got so tired of hearing it that he made up some elaborate stories how a brown bear ate them and haunted the woods afterwards. What's funny is I think it made those people seem more real. Growing up thinking they were still hanging out like they couldn't say goodbye. I used to tell my friends how I could swear I saw spirits move near the water, and that always freaked them out. I guess it didn't bother me, because the way I saw it, they were normal people with old cars and sheds, just trying to figure out how to survive and be happy in the middle of nowhere. It was a cool thought that they didn't want to leave, but you know, I was a weird kid.
Well, you had good company since those ghosts like living in a place where they were brutally devoured.
I don't know what this shine was all about then. Okay, where can you see the third shine? Maybe that's where I have to go. Right? Exploration is all about exploring, right? So even I don't really understand or get the point of where I have to go. So I know that I have taken up that place, or that, whatever that pedestal is, and I have to search for a new pedestal, which I don't have any idea about where to find it. Yeah, so there is one more arrow that I can see which I have not visited yet. Maybe there I will find something. Right. Exploration. The whole idea of this game is to just move around. What's that? No, he has dropped some little pieces everywhere. Everywhere in the game you will find some pieces being dropped here and there. Yeah, so there's a route right around there. So there I'll find something, hopefully. Open world. It's
I did want to do
open
something
world.
a little different with this level. I wanted it to be more open world feel, and that there was something blocking your progress. So it did encourage people to look closely and see how to unlock this blocked way. And I do like just walking around this level and listening to the beautiful music by Josh Kramer. His work really sets the mood for the whole game.
It's a pseudo open world game, that is what I would say. Because there's too little to do, right?
My dad built a lot of stuff in his free time. If he wasn't watching fly fishing or reading Tom Clancy novels, he was carving something. He made tons of birdhouses, Not that he was into bird watching, but I think he really missed working and adding on to the home. If he couldn't afford the time to build onto our own house, he would have to settle with watching birds move into their little homes. We kept an old mattress in the bed of that ugly yellow truck, so we would drive it deep into the woods and then watch the birds fly into their houses while the sun set. Usually it was accompanied by venison jerky or a cold Coke, but not a lot of talking, which is how we both liked it.
Earlier I said I just love going through video games and exploring, like looking at every nook and cranny and just trying to find little details. And I think that started because in middle school and high school, I would make mods for my favorite games, namely Jedi Knight, Jedi Outcast, and Far Cry. And I loved like this huge world of mod makers who would make these levels and it'd be like the most random creative things. And I would just love exploring, usually multiplayer levels by myself. So even though I went to college for film, before that, like before high school, I was making video games and mods, and it was my favorite thing in the world. I made a ton of different levels. I made an abandoned space hotel with a dance floor and cafeteria. I made a haunted campground with cabins and tents. I made this whole city with like the first ever day-night cycle with running showers and stuff in the hotel and the apartment buildings. And I just loved making those mods. And I think that carries over to my game, The First Tree, and also the one before that, Home is Where One Starts, which is it's exploration. You're just looking around and appreciating the details.
We were happiest underneath the evergreens. We decided it was time to finally map out the hundreds of acres we lived on just to pass the time during the summer. He was only free in the evenings, so I would spend the day wasting time on dial-up internet and sketching, and then we would rush into the woods, pen and map in hand, before evening fell. Sometimes the aurora borealis would cast a cold green glow on the mountainside, and we would finish our route underneath a twilight sky. Sometimes I was lonely during those summer days, but there was comfort in the routine.
A lot of teenagers aren't looking for the daily grind, though. There's nothing wrong with wanting to get out, to leave your childhood home. You wanted to progress, to make something of yourself.
Yeah, you're right. That house. I'm sure it's the same as how I left it. But then why does it feel so different?
I doubt you're the only adult to have looked back and asked that question.
It says it's an exploration game, but there's a lot of, just outright leading to the next big thing, right? Yeah, so that's the next pedestal I want to be on. So yeah, whenever I open up an achievement or something like this, the controller just vibrates. So maybe something you just might want to know. Oh. Where does it lead me to? That's odd. That's really frustrating. I mean, you do one thing but you don't get anything for that. That's just outright frustrating. Yeah. Okay, good enough. We found out a way out of that, hilly valley mountainy thing. I'm just happy. Why would anyone want to walk? I don't understand. Why would anyone want to walk? He has, the developer has made no point of walking, to be honest. Why would you walk when you can just run? It's a piano, a keyboard. Is it back to where we came from? Yes.
Earlier I said I just love going through video
Yeah,
games
we've
and
seen this.
exploring, like looking at every nook and cranny and just trying to find little details. And I think that started because in middle school and high school, I would make mods for my favorite games, namely Jedi Knight, Jedi Outcast, and Far Cry. And I loved like this huge world of mod makers who would make these levels and be like the most random creative things. And I would just love exploring, usually multiplayer levels by myself. So even though I went to college for film, before that, like before high school, I was making video games and mods, and it was my favorite thing in the world. I made a ton of different levels. I made an abandoned space hotel with a dance floor and cafeteria. I made a haunted campground with cabins and tents. I made this whole city with like the first ever day-night cycle with running showers and stuff in the hotel and the apartment buildings. And I just loved making those mods. And I think that carries over to my game, The First Tree, and also the one before that, Home is Where One Starts, which is it's exploration. You're just looking around and appreciating the details.
So appreciate the details is all what we have got, right? Appreciate the details. Yeah, the only thing that I don't like about this is, the way there's no definite location where you want to be at, right? It just randomly there are places being made with no understanding of whether the things are even needed to be there or they're just there because they had to be there. We have been here, right? I remember we have been here. We have been here as well, right? And we followed this path from here to there. We have already explored this path. Let's go back. So were the 3 pedestals needed for you to go beyond the trees that were fallen there, right? Maybe that's what it is all about. Let's find out. Let's go back to the place where we started from. The only thing that I don't understand is why did it start when we fell into that trap or whatever that was. Does it make any sense? I'm not sure. I don't even know where we have to go from here on. Right? There is a freeway achievement that we have got, but I have no idea where to go. Okay, a road. Let's follow the road. Okay, see, I said na. This has to be freed. So maybe this is freed. Was this like the first tree thing? Did we start here? I mean, is the video or is the what? Yeah, so this is the first tree kind of thing. This was meant to be the third one, okay? We did it at the beginning, but this was meant to be the third. So this is the freeway. Okay, I don't want to waste more time on getting that one.
The perpetrator stood nearby, unfazed, like nothing was wrong. My dad is dead, and he's never coming back, Rachel. I can tell you these stories, but I can never reminisce with him again. He can never hold a grandchild that we'll probably never be able to have. I can never talk to him again, and I'll never be able to say I'm sorry for everything.
It was really important to me that the wolf in this story that takes the fox's cubs, that it wasn't explained at all. Like, it's just this entity that's in the background. And of course, it's supposed to represent something bigger than a wolf or even the fox. It's supposed to represent like the specter of death. And it comes when you least expect it. There's no justification. He's just there, always watching.
Right. Life has no understanding of why some things happen. That's the whole point of this game, right? There are things that happen in your life. So there's a big wolf which has taken up killed the fox's cubs, and we are the one who are just going to, I don't know, maybe what we are going to do with it. Just there's one fox which we cannot control. That's very reminiscent of real life. You can never understand why is something happening, right? Maybe that's what is this developer wants, or the indie game developer wants us to go through. There are just some stuff you can't really understand or can't really explain. They just happen for no reason, right? Yeah, I can feel the story behind it. He lost his father. That's all the story is all about. All of the things that he has talked about is about his father. Right? That's maybe what we have to understand, we have to look at. This is the longest we have run so far without any, without any markers or achievements to go through. We're just running indefinitely. The music is, yes, really, really very nice.
Good night.
Maybe that it ends here. Right? Is there any point in going forward? I mean, the way it has been made, one thing leads to other, and that is what all I can see. The game has been made in such a way that it kind of leads you from one place to another. You just have to look at it. The color grading at each level has been done so well, right? The coloring is the main thing that is really nice about this game. Load the next level. There are no levels as such. I cannot say that these are levels. Oh wow, that's good night, right? Night.
Joseph, you can't go to sleep feeling like this. I'm sorry for everything, and I know you need space, but I'm here for you. You don't need to feel so lost. Joseph, have I ever told you what my mother was like?
Hello, my name is Elise Whaley, and I was the voice actress for Rachel. I'm also David's wife. So that was convenient for working together. I was actually the voice actress for his first game, Home is Where One Starts, and I guess that I did a good enough job that David wanted me back, so I did the voice acting for this one as well. David definitely coached me through it because I'm pretty inexperienced when it comes to that. Home is Where One Starts was my first time ever doing voice acting of any kind. And we watched a lot of trailers of movies we liked to get the voice right of female leads who were talking in the trailer and try to mimic that and bring that into the game. So that had the right kind of feel and the right kind of atmosphere for the voice. My character actually is the same character from Home is Where One Starts. If you've played that game, you probably connected that together. And this is her probably about 15 years later, maybe 20 years later in this game. I was happy to revisit the character of Rachel. We kind of leave her in an ambiguous spot in Home is Where One Starts. It definitely ends on a hopeful note, but there's not a lot of details. And in this game, you see that she's able to move on through a lot of her issues that she had from her abusive home and be able to start her own family and start a new cycle without that abuse, which I think is really inspiring.
You know what it's like not to have a mom at home. And you know how hard that made my childhood. What helped me was watching the birds in the morning before the school bus came. I thought that my mother was one of those birds, and it made me want to be free like her. My mom taught me how to fold origami cranes while she was in the hospital. So I told myself I would fold one every day until I could fly myself. I think we both have always loved animals, and for me that love started with a dog. Sometimes this Rottweiler would come up to our property line and wait at the fence for me, but only once in a while. I was sure to check every day immediately after school, and it usually ended in disappointment. I would even steal money from my passed-out dad just so I could buy these off-brand dog biscuits. Even when she did stop by,
that's
she never went beyond the fence.
Why
was she so scared?
Waking up from the dream.
So it's always interesting working with your spouse because, especially on a creative project, because they want your feedback, but it's something that's also dear to their heart, and they're dear to your heart, and you definitely don't want to hurt their feelings. So I was a little nervous when David asked me, he had finally finished writing the script, and he asked me to go over it and see what I thought. And I had minored in English. I majored in art, but I minored in English, so I felt like I had a little bit of experience. But I was definitely like a little scared because you don't want to be too harsh, but you also want to be honest. And it was the biggest relief when I read the script, and I was like, oh, good. My husband's a good writer. I don't have to change that much about this, just a few like grammatical things. And that was just like the biggest relief for me because it can be a tricky balance working with your spouse and making sure that that honesty is there, but also that love and the support is there as well.
I think my dad was the opposite of your dad in almost every way, except he was in the military as well. He coped with alcohol of every kind. The trailer started falling apart, he got angry, and I withdrew. More and more I became the weird, quiet kid who made lots of origami birds.
So the
and
foxes
carried
for the
towel
male
biscuits
and
around. I think we were pretty
the
similar
deer
when it
are
came
for
to
the
being
female
weird kids.
character.
And that same sincerity in college was one of the reasons I was so drawn to you.
And the proportions are not really right,
And at one
but
point,
yeah, okay,
I really
cool.
didn't think I could survive another day with my soul still intact. I had no real friends, let alone
Just to show
neighbors,
that, you know,
since we lived
like,
in the middle of nowhere.
the girl is with
I should have talked to
the
my
boy.
teacher, but I was scared what he would do if he found out. As I waited for the school bus one morning, I walked around until I found something in an abandoned shed. Something I can't put into words.
So we're talking about Home is Where One Starts a lot. So if you haven't played that game, maybe this doesn't make as much sense, or maybe this is a little plug that you should go play it. But in that game, it actually features one of my artworks. I work as an artist and paper cutting, actually. And David used one of my artworks as a graffitied stencil in Home is Where One Starts that's against the wall of this shack. And it actually shows up again in the first tree, just a fragment of it. The first tree, the title actually comes from one of my artworks that I made back in 2015, I want to say. And I made this artwork while I was pregnant with our first child. And it had a lot of meaning for me, and David actually helped me come up with the title. And he asked, because I was really struggling, I was like, I have no idea what to call this, and I always go to David for title ideas and to bounce ideas off of him, and that's like the only way I can ever come up with a title is by talking with him. So we were talking back and forth and looking at this artwork, and he said, well, what kind of like movies or shows were you watching while you're making the artwork? Because my work's pretty tedious, so sometimes I'll watch a show or do some Netflix binging while I'm creating it. And I was like, oh, I actually watched Tree of Life a ton. And then we're like, Tree of Life. And we started thinking more about that, and then arrived at the first tree. So it started off as one of my artworks and then became a part of David's art, which I think is really cool that we were able to share that title.
I summoned
So,
courage I didn't know I
I
had.
know that
and
he
I broke
took
into my
like
dad's room and found the
18
key to the
months
shed
to
where he had
complete
locked
the
my
game.
bike. I'll
And
never
at least the
forget that
first
feeling.
draft of
The
it.
wind rushing by my ears as the sun rose over fields of wheat. I was flying for the first time. I biked as far as my legs could take me until I found a house that felt friendly and that felt like home. Those strangers helped me in so many ways. And if it wasn't for them, I wouldn't have found my foster family. And if it wasn't for my parents, I wouldn't have met you. You have strength, Joseph, and you're not as alone as you think.
It's all just so pointless. Just waiting for life to happen. It's like having the home I always wanted is cursed out of my reach. The thought of being a parent myself. How could I do that when I couldn't even be a good son? I'm sorry. I know what you're saying. I just don't know how things will work out. These quiet hours will turn into years. We'll wonder which roads passed us by.
Then we'll forge a new road together. Besides, I discovered for myself that one fateful morning where any hopeful road leads to. There may be thorns and mist, but it always leads to the same thing.
And what's that?
Family.
I'm so glad that you're part of my family, Rachel.
And I'm glad you're part of mine.
A question I get a lot is why a fox? And it ties into
Gone. Like, seriously gone. We lost it. Why a fox?
Fox knew her last cub would be waiting for her at the first tree. She was almost there. The rain cascaded onto the jade valley where the entrance to the tree was. Life was protected there, because that's where life began. It was now only a mother and a daughter left. Items from my life still dotted the ground as she moved closer to her destination and destiny.
So it's been like an hour and 15 minutes that we are playing this game. What I can do is I can stretch it up to like 20, I think, yeah, 1 hour 15 minutes, right? Or should I just try to complete the game today itself?
Usually what catches people's attention of the first tree is the visuals, of course. And I was inspired by a lot of people making these levels. The second level is inspired by just these beautiful autumn photos of a real forest. And this level, the Jade Valley, is inspired by the artwork of Heather Penn, who did the Overland games. I just love those greens with a lot of gray in it. I love the strong vignettes in the corners of the frame. And of course, this environment pack was made by the very talented Swedish designer Mikael Gustafsson. And of course, his initial designs inspired me, and I was able to build off of that. And I'm really grateful that he allowed his environment pack to be made publicly available.
That's a lot of using pre-made stuff. And I mean, yeah, of course, no one can make so much of it in just like 18 months, right? You'll have to some way or the other use things which are already available and just customize it to the way you want and then make it your own. That's how every game should be, right?
By now you've probably caught on to some of the themes I love to explore in these stories. And the big one is of this tree, the first tree on Earth. And a lot of people have asked me, what does that mean? Why a tree? And basically it boils down to this delicate balance between nature and its relationship with life and death. And I love these stories where they put like these microscopic relationships, like something of like a father and a son, and juxtapose it next to this epic story of like the creation of the universe and the first tree on Earth, and how they can be equally as important, because in my mind, like, my family is as important as like the creation of the Earth. And it reminds me of like some of the stories I love, like The Road by Cormac McCarthy, or The Tree of Life by Terrence Malick. Basically, I wanted to make sure the player felt that there was a higher power than themselves, and that there was something watching over them as they went through this story.
Yeah, except for the fact that, great visuals if you just want to, play along with the visuals, really, really great. But there still has to be, like something to follow along, right? After a while, it just becomes a little bit of, tedious, I would say. Continue running in just one single direction without any understanding of where we are going. I do understand it's an exploration game, but there still has to be something we want to go to, right? There has to be something where we want to go to. And that's the exact thing I am like struggling to find in this game. That's the end of line. Yeah, this is what is really bothering me a lot. it's an exploration game. I do understand, and again I'm repeating the same words again and again, but the point is there has to be some understanding, I should say, some structure to the game than just aimlessly roaming here and there. All that I can see is that I'm just roaming here and there aimlessly, and that just sucks for some reason. There are like points and coins everywhere. That's a broken bed. I just wish I could run faster in the game, because after a while it really becomes very difficult to just play around. Lumbers, all of them. Yeah, it took a really long time just figuring out which assets to use where. So the grass is usually the same except for the colors, and the same goes for all the other foliages he has used. It is kind of same but not the same, like the colors have been changed according to the theme and stuff like that.
My dad was super supportive with my college plans. To a point. Things were okay until this terrible accident happened. I guess a forklift flipped over due to a bad axle, and it crushed one of the workers there. My dad didn't eat for days, even though he wasn't directly involved. It devastated him. Not only did it hurt the business, but it just freaked him out. He would talk in his sleep, muttering things about firing people and saying sorry. One fateful day he approached me, said that since my school search wasn't going well, I should finally be a man and take over the family business. He said one day he was going to die, and that all of his work, sacrifice, and even that man's life would be wasted in vain. I just lost it. Teenage me just exploded at the thought. I screwed up. I said things I shouldn't have. He was having a crisis, and I pretty much spit in his face.
It's all about like how to go from one place to other with his own story. Like that is all it is. Like that's his own story. That's all you are looking at. How did he go from one place to other? That's journey through his life is the game. First tree. So this is like the first game which I am playing where I have no missions, I have no clarity on what's actually happening, and I'm just playing along because I want to play. Right, the first ever game without any clarity of why I'm playing that game. Because every other game that I've played till now had like missions. So like majority of the games that I've played are like GTA 5, GTA stuff, Medal of Honor.
Was that the last time you talked to him?
What was that?
No, I called on holidays.
Call of Duty.
And he would call
Call
on
of
my
Duty.
birthday.
Right.
I guess we acted like nothing ever happened.
Majority of the
Which was
times
stupid.
it was all like
Didn't want to ask about his
missions,
lumberyard.
one after the other.
I'm sure he didn't want to ask about my job search. I never went back and visited. I think the last conversation we had was about
For the
what
amount of
movies we'd
like
seen, and
hard
what
work
exactly a
that he might
best
have
boy
done
is in
on
the
this
credits.
game, and the money
thought
that
he would be here so
I
much longer.
paid for that, it's just like 34 rupees. That's not even a dollar. On the website it says like $10 or something for the game. I literally paid less than a dollar, less than half a dollar, I would say. Look at the wolf. The wolf is back. really, I have no answer because I don't know, to be honest.
I guess her journey was over, but I have no idea. It was only a dream, a distraction from tomorrow.
I don't think dreams normally bring back to memory so many important feelings. Maybe it was just a dream, but it was also a gift.
Yeah, I suppose. But tomorrow we're getting on a plane to the last place on Earth I want to be. The only person that would have made the trip worth it is gone.
You're going to see him and be with him one last time before you say goodbye. I have one last quote for you by Emerson, sealed in an imaginary letter from me to you. It is the secret of the world that all things subsist and do not die, but only retire a little from sight and afterward return again. Go to sleep, my love. We have a big day tomorrow, but I'll be there with you every step of the way.
Thank you. Thanks for listening. Good night, Rachel.
Good night, Joseph.
Yeah, right. I mean, it's just 1 hour 33 minutes. And as far as I know, it's a long game. We are in a house. We are in a house. We just woke up from a dream. Okay, so I can walk. What can I see? Is there a door? Where is the door? Is that like Rachel? Yeah, it has to be Rachel, right? Time. I don't want to see time. Okay, well, what is the door like? This has to be a door. Yeah. What the...
You're probably thinking, what is going on? And that was definitely my intention for this epilogue part of the first tree. This is my favorite part. This is the part I'm most proud of. And it definitely, like, it's supposed to evoke this, like, what is going on? Where am I? I was not expecting this. When I was marketing and blogging about making the game, I never showed anyone this part. I never told anyone. I never shared screenshots.
Exactly.
I wanted it to be a complete surprise. And I also wanted it to feel a little creepy because it's totally inspired by those nights where you wake up in the middle of the night and you can just hear the sounds of the wind outside the house and you can't sleep. So you walk around in this like twilight stupor. And I would say the whole first part of this game where you play as the fox, its whole purpose is to set up for this conclusion. So yeah, I would encourage you to look around and see how many things you recognize from the earlier part of the game. I tried hard to foreshadow this epilogue just because I wanted it to be a surprise, but I didn't want it to feel too out of place that it would be humorous. And so Joseph, earlier in the game, he would say things like, I felt like I was right behind the fox the whole time. In my mind, the camera perspective acts as a metaphor for for who the player is, what they're seeing, if the camera represents Joseph, or just like that video game trope of having the camera follow you. I guess the big question I wanted the player to ask themselves, is this a dream as well? And if so, does that even matter?
Yeah, to be really honest, even I did not know about this this part of the game. There has to be key somewhere, right? So you can see that it is locked, but I cannot jump over it. So there has to be a key somewhere, right? No trespassing. There's a key. There has to be a key somewhere. Where to find a key? Okay. Yeah, I did not expect this because, I mean, it was never told. In the house where I would keep the keys. That's like a storage house, right? Nursery, that's my kid's house. So we have the fox, we have the deers as well. So there were things fallen here and there. That has to be the photo of the kid, right? That's bathroom. Cool, the Rachel is sleeping still, and we have to find out a way to get out of here. This opened, but I have no idea how to enter. Nope, nope, nope. Nope. seem like doesn't seem like this is going to open. There is a truck around here, but nothing inside.
I tried hard to foreshadow this epilogue just because I wanted it to be a surprise, but I didn't want it to feel too out of place that it would be humorous. And so Joseph, earlier in the game, he would say things like, I felt like I was right behind the fox the whole time. In my mind, the camera perspective acts as a metaphor for who the player is, what they're seeing, if the camera represents Joseph, or just like that video game trope of having the camera follow you. I guess the big question I wanted the player to ask themselves, is this a dream as well? And if so, does that even matter?
Okay, so lights have been made to here, but I cannot find any way of opening this up. I really have no idea how to open this up. How to open this up? I have really no idea. Nope. What does it say? It says to search for something in the tent, right? Okay, so cool. At least we have that in the tent. Can you see a tent? Search for a tent. Oh, dude. That was really... so that the whole thing was just a setup for us to go here, right? Search for a tent right around here. Right.
What the hell?
The fox? It is leading the way. The pursuit.
I purposefully fade out the crosshair in the middle of the screen because I wanted it to be a direct callback to the camera following the fox in the first 5 levels of the first tree. I wanted it to go for that gut reaction that this was very familiar yet totally in a different world. A lot of
thought process has been there in the game. So it is not like just a game for namesake. It has got so many, things to look at. Very thoughtfully, purposefully made each and every level. That's just really, really great. And now we're in the realistic theme because this is like a real human being running behind the pole of the fox. Wow, look at this dude. This is even better than what you have seen till now. That's just wow. Just wow is the word. Just wow is the word. The music. The first tree. Are we back to the tree?
What is this?
Inclusion. Cool.
Thank you for making it to the end of my game. And I hope you enjoy the personalized message that is featured on the trunk of this tree. It's a message submitted by another player that's retrieved from a database, and it's retrieved at random. And I did this because I wanted people, even if they feel alone through trials of death, that there is a community, an invisible community supporting each other. So thanks for playing.
Just wow is the word. The first tree. Directed and written by David Bailey. Let the credits roll. That is all we got. 2 hours of gameplay. That's like a super ending to the game. Cool. That's like all. that's all we got for this video. Thank you so much for watching this video till now. If you have watched, I mean, yeah, I do understand that there will be very few people who will watch this video or this kind of video, but that's just me playing the game for a really long time, for the first time, like completing a game, and that even an indie game is just amazing. This is the first ever indie game which I really bought for some money, right? I paid money for this game and it was really fun playing this game. So there are a few takeaways from this game. The first and foremost is like the essence of this game: family first, right? Family first. Family has to be the first. Missing your like the death of anyone in your family, maybe your dad, like that has been portrayed in the game, or anyone else from the family, is going to be like very difficult to just move forward with, right? So the whole thing is that the life must still go on. The people that you lose are never lost. They are and will always be in your heart, in your memories, and that's all it matters. On the game front, there are a few takeaways. The game should have a story, right? Something where you'll feel connected to the game, something where you'll feel like you relate to the game, right? That is what I would say. The next big thing is the visuals. Without the visuals, winning is really not possible. The game that I played could have easily become very boring, except for the art. And art is not just the visuals, but also the audio, the ambience, the way every dialogue or the monologue was being presented. Everything matters, and that is all for this game, the first tree. Thank you, David VD, for the game, for the very great game. I just loved it. There's one more game that I'm going to play in the coming days, hopefully, and that's by Thomas Brush. I've heard that Thomas Brush has also made a game, and even this, the first game that we all, it was talked about in the entire game. That was something, even that I would like to play. Maybe tomorrow is the day when we play that game, right? So stay tuned to this YouTube channel. If you are new to this YouTube channel, please do subscribe. There is very little chance that you are watching this game or watching this video till this point of time. I'm just going to post a few cuts from the video, so that you might just get interested in watching the entire thing. And also there will be a few like short videos on my review of the game, how the game is, and the entire thing about the game, right? So see you in the next video. Thank you guys, thank you so much for tuning in till now. Thank you so much. See you guys in the next videos. Till then, keep smiling and keep learning. Stay tuned for new things to come.